Hello there. So I got an interesting question from one of our lovely YouTube viewers. They asked, Kurt, what happens when my twin flame dies? And I was like, whoa there. Talk about going for the gold. Well, it's actually an interesting question. If not, it's death. It's like a shocking thing to think of or to talk about. But let's just get this out of the way up front. There's no death, right? All that happens is you leave your body. And to understand what happens when your twin flame dies, like why is there that confusion, maybe is where we could start. Because when you explain to people you are your twin flame, they immediately start thinking about stuff like, so how come I'm not seeing through their eyes, right? If I am them, why don't I see through their eyes or have some kind of shared experience with them or something like that, right? Like you're thinking of it as you are having the same maybe experience as they are in some kind of a way. Like you're trying to figure out how it is we are one or we are connected or something like that. It's very difficult for the mind to grasp this, and I'm going to explain why in this video. I think you'll find this video very interesting. Now I'll just kind of cut to the chase and then we'll unpack, all right? So this is no different than if you knew who you used to be in a past life, and some people do. Reincarnation is real. I could share with you lots of stories. I just don't want this video to be like ridiculously long, but there's stories of people who had knowledge of who they were in their past life, right? And they were able to demonstrate that that was true. We know reincarnation is real. It's demonstrably true. So let's say you knew who you were in a past life and you had a time machine and you go back to the year 1770 and you met yourself. So in case you've never seen this diagram before, this is your higher self in the energy part of the universe, right? Heaven, right? The afterlife, which is really the before life, right? Whatever you want to call it, right? The energy part of the universe, whatever. Okay, and in this higher plane, P-L-A-N-E, in this higher plane of existence, time has no meaning. There is no time. So all of these individual incarnations, these past lives, 1770, 1880, there's you and your twin flame, and then a future reincarnation. And I'm sure you've had thousands of incarnations. We all have, or tens of thousands or more, right? So this is just a basic diagram. But all of these incarnations, your higher self is experiencing them all at the same time, all at once. Albert Einstein said that past and future happen simultaneously. Did you ever see that movie Interstellar? That's real science, guys. Time, even from our limited perspective here in 3D reality, is malleable. And they've even proven it. Like NASA scientists, they have to alter the clock speed of spacecraft to move at a slightly different pace than the clock on the ground, because when you go into space, when you move away from the Earth, there's less gravity and you're also adding speed. So time slows down. And they can measure that. That's really how this works, guys. And when you transcend to a higher enough plane of existence, there is no time. There's only one moment. And this is stuff spiritual teachers have been saying for a long time, and science is proving all of this stuff, right? In today's world. Now, all of these incarnations are happening all at the same time. But you in the 3D, you experience what appears to be linear time because you're living in density, right? Things are more dense. You experience things moment to moment to moment, and there appears to be a linearity to it. From your like localized perspective of the universe is very small. So if you got into a time machine and met your previous incarnation here in the year 1770, it's the same thing as meeting your twin flame. Guys, your twin flame is just another incarnation of your soul. That's all it is. So do you, come on camera, This camera is, there we go. Do you like wonder what happened to you in a past life? See, you're wondering what happens to your twin flame when they die, right? Well, what happened to you in a past life, like 300 years ago, right? It's like asking the same question. When we think of reincarnation, we think linear time, right? Like, I died in the year 1970, and then I was reincarnated in 1974 or whatever, right? And we think it happens linear like that. And what I'm saying is all of these things happen all simultaneously, okay? What if, do you remember like in the Old Testament of the Bible where people would live to be like 500 years old or something like that, right? Remember that? What if people could still live to be 500 years old? You'd meet all these people that you used to be because they're still alive, right? Like 1770, that was only a couple hundred years ago, right? So if you live to be 500 years, okay, so you're asking the same question, like what happens to my twin flame when they die? Like where does their consciousness go? Because the soul is consciousness, right? That's why there's the confusion about it, because you're looking through your eyes and you're thinking, well, why don't I see through their eyes too? Well, why don't you see through the eyes of the person that you used to be 200 years ago? It just doesn't work that way. And I have a theory about that. It's something I'm going to write about in my book about how the soul incarnates, how it manifests down here in density. And it has to do with the reversal of the event horizon, like of a black hole. So once it's like you're crossing over onto the other side of that event horizon. And so information cannot come out of it. Any of you that know anything about black holes, you know what I'm talking about. So the singularity of consciousness, right? The singularity of consciousness, it exists within that event horizon where everything seems to be going backwards, and space itself is what begins to become more dense, okay? But when you cross, if you could escape that event horizon somehow, if you could make it onto the other side, then you would be completely ignorant of whatever's going on inside that event horizon. So what I think happens when you incarnate is it's some kind of a process like that. Like you can't, when you're in this physical world, get information from inside the event horizon. But inside the event horizon, if you could go in there, you could access all of your past lives, right? And you can't do that with your mind. Now, you can do it with your soul. This is why, like, people who facilitate past life regression and stuff like this, they put you into this hypnotic state, okay? Because your brain goes into this higher brainwave state, and you're able to access all of this intuitive information, which is going beyond that event horizon. Because truthfully, at your very core, you are the soul. You are that consciousness. You are that singularity, which is inside that event horizon. So you can access it at that level spiritually, but you can't access it mentally. And that's why people struggle with this. That's why people struggle with, I'm trying to understand how my twin flame is me, right? Because you're trying to understand it and you can't. Right? That's separation. That's separation consciousness, where there's me, and there's them. And that makes a we, right? Separation. That's where that word really came from, right? There's they, my twin flame, and then there's me, and that makes a we, and we are separate. That's where the word separation really came from. But unity is when you go into the core of self, right? The true self, the true you, which is that consciousness, and you don't access it through the mind. So that's kind of my scientific explanation of the mechanics of that. But again, the simple answer is, well, you're not gonna access their consciousness, their individualized experience as an individual incarnation, for the same reason that you're not accessing people that you used to be in a past life or in a future life, which are all happening all at once. Okay? But there is a state of forgetfulness that we enter into when we come down here into the 3D. That is true. And I think it's because of the way that consciousness manifests. My theory about like chakras is that each chakra is like a black hole, and the singularity of self is replicated within each chakra, and you cannot cross that event horizon mentally. You just can't do that, but you access it at a deeper level. This is why a lot of you watching, you've probably had intuitive informational experiences about your twin flame, but it's intuitive. It's not mental, right? You can have intuition when it comes to your twin flame. You can access it that way through the soul, but you cannot through the mind. So there you go, guys. I hope you're less confused than you were before you started watching. You probably are more confused. But just think of past lives. You can't see those either. That's why. All right, guys. See you later. Bye.